Everyone, it's Friday night, and we're actually doing a Dreaming Code Live tonight. This is episode number 12, Nombre 12, and I am Skaggles, also known as Andre Burdett, and I will be your host for this evening, and usually every other evening. Follow me. Yeah. But I have to apologize for last week because I had a guest, but he was in UK. I won't name any names. Gabe Hape. But he agreed to do the show, and I even went as far as accommodating his time schedule by actually switching to a different date and time that he said he can do. He said it. And then the day before, I messaged him and said, "You're still going to be able to do the show?" And he said, "Oh, I'm going to have a friend over. I'm going to need to push it back." And I was like, "Okay, that's fine. We'll push it back." And then that time came, and he's like, "Oh, I can't do the show." And it was a little late to do any planning or anything like that, so we just scrapped it. This week, I was going to have Skyhawk on the show, but he actually had legitimate reasons why he couldn't make the show, so I went back and I was looking at different ways. Where me and number 2 have been looking at ways to actually do the show to not be guest dependent. So I was looking at those ways, but I actually managed to find somebody who was willing to do the show tonight, so we're good. First of all, I want to make a few announcements, such as, like us on Facebook, all that stuff, because we haven't hit 25 likes yet. Once we do, I can actually get one of those cool custom names that people can just go to facebook.com/IWantDick or something like that, and get our Facebook page and like it. But the first thing I wanted to do is, congratulate a couple people, namely, Sep2000, Sep2K, and capital E underscore lowercase I lowercase pi, EIPI. They have both been promoted to mentors on Dreaming Code, and I think that Dreaming Code is a much better place for having people like them. And damn it, number 2 pencil, and all you people are beeping my stuff. The dead air. There's no dead air. Can you? Is the volume coming across fine? Because I tested this beforehand and everything was working fine. So, tonight's guest is a special guest we have that's been on the forums for a bit. I'm going to actually call him now because I haven't already had the call thing started. So everybody, welcome to the show, XAMPP.
Yes, yes.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going well.
Yeah. How did you? I know XAMPP is a piece of bundled software for web browsers or web servers and stuff like that. Is that how you came up with the name? Did you start using that, or do you have a different reason why you're using the name XAMPP?
No, I actually saw it around somewhere, and I honestly don't remember where. I didn't get into development until about 6 years ago, I think. And I saw it a little after that, and I really wasn't into web development, so I didn't know what it was, but I thought it was cool, so I just, replaced the A with an @ sign, and there you go. It's lame, I know, but yeah.
So how did you first discover Dreaming Code and create this name?
If you want the exact answer, I believe I was sitting in the middle of science class screwing around on one of the workstations, and I was just first learning how to code then, and I had a problem that I worked at home and I didn't have an internet connection. And so, in the middle of science class, we weren't doing anything, so I pulled up and searched for the problem I was looking for. Dreaming Code was the first result, and I've just been hooked there ever since, asking problems and just seeing what people are up to.
Yeah, it's a great website for asking people help and getting a lot of good responses, and sometimes just anger.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So when did you start? How long have you been messing around with Dreaming Code now?
Dreaming Code, I don't actually remember. I know I found it a while ago, not exactly 6 years, but I'd probably have to say in and around what? It's 2012 now. In my freshman year, my freshman year of high school.
So, it's been a few years. Yeah, it's been a few years.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are usually kind of off and on members. Some people are on and then completely off. And then there are people that have just been consistently on, like Super Sloth, for generations.
Yeah.
So we all have our different, ways. I've been an on-off member for Dreaming Code. I remember at one point I wasn't browsing the site for it was several months. I wasn't even doing any programming for several months. I think I was just playing video games.
Yeah. It's important to take a break.
Yeah.
Every
We all take breaks. We all move on. We all come back.
Yeah, definitely.
So you do programming. What languages do you like to do your programming with?
Even though I'm ashamed of this, my first and currently most used language is C# on the Windows platform. I know, it's really embarrassing. But I also like to use Java for some occasions, which would be mainly developing Minecraft mods, and then for anything else, it's Python or C++.
Nice. I was actually in the previous episode, it was a couple weeks ago, I was talking to Neo Tifa, and she does Minecraft. She plays with it or whatever. And I was asking her if she does any mod stuff, and she didn't really talk about that much. But you actually do mess with mods on Minecraft.
Yeah. I have a few projects that are not exactly mods as well. Like, there's this one, if you don't mind a little self-promotion. It's a technical reverse engineer of the Minecraft launcher and what it does to log in, so it kind of unencrypts the local passwords. And that was just a little fun project for Java, so I like little malicious things sometimes.
Sometimes you gotta dig into the deeper parts of things and take things apart to fully understand them.
Yeah, definitely.
And
that's
sometimes,
probably the most fun.
yeah, and sometimes people don't really appreciate you digging into their private stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
But then, you know, if you're doing it for non-malicious reasons, then, you know.
Yeah, well, there's a fine line between malicious intent and fun.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why there's always that big controversy and things with hackers and all that stuff, you know, or they, you know, white hat versus black hat and all that stuff.
Yeah, black hat, gray hat, all that.
Yeah, plenty of different colored hats. We all have our own.
Indeed.
So you've been programming for how long now? Messing around with development, all that stuff.
Yeah, on the end of about 5 to 6 years.
And all that time you messing with what did you start out with?
C#.
C#. So you got about how long ago was that? Was that back in when it first came out, or?
That was not back when it first came out. I'd probably say I started messing around with it during late 2008.
Okay.
So quite a while ago. I mean, I'm horrible with dates, so don't quote me on any of my dates. But
we're not specific. We're not job application here. You know, give me all 10 of your previous residents for the past 10 years. I mean.
Yeah, I never really put together a resume. So.
I had to do that when I enlisted into the military because I went into an intelligence thing, and they had me fill out like the last 10 years of residence, and I couldn't remember all those addresses and stuff, so I was like making up stuff and years and everything, and I got top secret clearance. So
yeah, whatever works.
Yeah. Have fun trying to investigate all those dates. I don't think it's gonna really matter. But yeah, so you've been programming a lot in C#, and you said you messed around with Java and stuff. Is there anything about those languages that the reason why you liked? I know C# and Java has a lot of similarities. Is there a reason why you like those languages?
Mainly because they're my, I guess I could call them birth languages, or the first languages I got introduced to or introduced myself to when programming. Rather, it's C# mainly, and Java shares an extremely similar kindness to C#, being its syntax and the way its framework works. And they're just useful for what they're useful for. Like C# is really useful for quickly writing up a Windows application that you want to do something Java's good for cross-platform, although I believe the Java runtime environment is a bit slow. And yeah, it's just on a, not exactly a pass-fail basis for the language of what it's used for, it's just what the language is strong in. Like for Java, it's interprop and stuff with other Java words. It's just, yeah.
I have to say, I agree they're very similar in a lot of ways, because I remember, I've done a lot of C# development stuff, messing around things. And then I actually tried messing around with Java, and it was very easy to switch over because there wasn't much of a learning curve.
Yeah.
The similarities were pretty good, like everything in the class and all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I'm kind of wishing I learned C++ first, though, because moving over to a lower-level language from a higher-level language is kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's like going from being rich down to to being middle class and trying to having that used to espresso machines and stuff, and now you got to try to make your own, like grinding your own beans and all that stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah, well, I was never rich or middle class. I'm extremely poor as it is. So, yeah.
I'm actually registering for a C++ class next semester. I mean, I already have a good understanding of C++. I messed with it for a while, a long time ago though. So I've probably, you know, one of those things, you know, use it or lose it kind of things. It's been a long time since I've done any C++ development.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
and with
it'll be a nice refresher.
Yeah, and with things like the new C++ 11 standard coming out, there's a lot of new things that they're implementing in the core libraries and compilers and all that that are going to be interesting to learn.
This is a community college. They're still going to be using like Visual Studio 2008.
I know some classes still use BASIC.
Yeah, they have Visual Studio 2010 Express. They have the Express editions for 2010, but they'll still use 2008, even though the other one's free, because that's what their course material is based around, and they don't want to update their syllabus and all that stuff yet, because that takes too much work.
Oh my, that's horrible.
That's the way shit works in California education system. Well, a lot of the classes. This one of the classes I'm taking, a psychology class. The professor of the class actually wrote the book, and I can get the PDF file of the book from him for free. So I'm always looking for ways to get cheap books. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I understand you also mess with some music. You actually mess around with creating music, not just listening to music.
Yeah, that I do. It's extremely amateur, and it sounds awful to me, but then that's probably because I'm the one that made it, and I criticize myself 300x times harder than I do anyone else.
I completely agree. I've made stuff in the past, you know, even music with, I think software's Fruity Loops. Is that what you use?
Yeah, I use Fruity Loops, but I also use Ableton Live and Reason and Logic and Reno, and yeah, everyone under the sun. I've dabbled with it.
Just download all of them. Like a little while ago, I was messing around with an idea I had for the future of the show, and I was messing around with different software to use with it. And so I like downloaded and installed like 5 different softwares that did the same thing, and was just messing around with each of them. They all had their pros and their cons, so I'm trying to make the right decision on that versus free and spending like $200 is probably the
download all the things.
I don't like trial software because it's like trial software is just like teasing me. You know, it's like going to a strip club. You know, take off all your clothes, you enjoy it, and then you go home.
Yep. And then there's an entire subset of arguments of that's not getting into.
So you mind if I actually play one of these things on your SoundCloud thing?
Go ahead. I don't know how well the audience will be able to hear it, but feel free to.
It'll be that way they can bring up the browser thing here. This is all on SoundCloud. I just played the Moonlight one.
Yeah.
And what you used to make this one?
That was Fruity Loops, using some of the preset synths and some not so preset synths.
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the better ones. That and Harmony More, probably the 2 best ones I've had done ever.
This one and the Harmony More, I think it was.
Yeah.
Now, how long have you been messing with making music like this?
Probably around a year and a half now.
Year and a half?
Not nearly as long as I've been coding.
It sounds pretty decent for only messing around with it for a year and a half. I mean, that's kind of an encouragement to the other people that are interested in that type of thing and they just want to jump into it.
Oh, yeah. And a word of advice I can say is don't criticize yourself extremely hard, but what you can do is work up what you want, what you think sounds good. Wait a day, and then master the track afterwards. That way your ears are not used to the sound going over again. And also listen to it in comparison with some of the more quote-unquote professionally produced tracks, and just take ideas from them. How do they use the compression? Is their EQing decent? That was a firework, I think.
Come back to it later and see what you still think. Same thing with like writing a story or whatever, you know? They say that when you're having trouble with the story, just put it off to the side for a while and then come back to it later and look at it with fresh eyes.
Alright,
well, I've gone through my list. So what are you doing for 4th of July?
4th of July? I'm not entirely sure.
I
Currently
believe it's going to be on
June.
a Wednesday. Next Wednesday,
Yeah.
I believe. Wednesday! You know, everybody's working on Wednesdays. But good thing 4th of July is only celebrated at night because that's the safest time to blow things up.
Definitely.
The 4th of July, also known to the rest of the world as July 4th.
Yep.
Day that America celebrates its independence. And
we kicked our own ass.
Canada celebrates their independence July 1st, so it's kind of like an Independence Week for North America. Mexico is Cinco de Mayo, right?
The 5th of May, yeah.
So it's kind of like they all line up a bit there. You know, it's a little off from a few months, but you know they're close to the same area of the year.
Yeah.
North America.
I'm too absorbed everything else to be paying attention to national holidays.
Most other people are too. You know, you think everybody in like Australia, it's like they can't wait for American Independence Day.
I guess it just depends on person-to-person basis.
Yeah, and you know the UK isn't really jumping at the chance to help us celebrate the Independence Day because it's basically our celebration of kicking their ass kind of thing. You know, I'm not really kicking their ass, just saying we're severing ties, and then later on we reconnect those ties, and everybody's friends. Just water under the bridge. That's how it works. And that's the way the world works. Just forgive and forget. It's in the past.
Forgive and forget, or go die in a fire. Which
seems like it's not really America's political stance yet. They don't really forgive. So one thing I wanted to talk about, not really specific to you, but one thing I wanted to announce for the show is our plans going into the future, because I have mentioned in the past that starting in August I'm going to be really busy with classes and work, so I might not be able to do the show. Me and number two have been working out different things, and one thing we're talking about is actually doing a bi-weekly thing, and that's bi-weekly as in twice monthly, not twice weekly. So I know they mean two different things. So, and I think we're looking at maybe rotating or something like that, which sounds gay, but we won't do that. Because I was going to show him how to use the software and stuff into stream, so I assumed he was meaning that he would actually host every now and then.
Yeah. Well, broadcasting schedules are never exactly easy to maintain.
Yeah, especially when you're really busy and the show doesn't really pay, so it's kind of in a low priority range.
Yeah.
Not that I don't enjoy coming here and doing this show every week. Speaking of weeks, talking about weeks, next week there won't be a show because July 4th, like I said, Wednesday, I can't do anything Wednesday because it's a Wednesday, but that following weekend I'm going to be going up into the mountains with my fiance to celebrate. So won't be any show. I'll be out of town next weekend. That's a future announcement now. Sorry. like we were just talking about, low priority range. I can't just sit there and be all like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't go. I got this show that they're paying me to do." No, that's not. If that were the case, I wouldn't be needing to work, right? This would be a job thing, and I'd put a lot more effort into it.
Yeah, it's also like free and open source software development. If you're doing it in your free time, then you can't put as much effort as you want to into it.
Yeah, then you get the people sending you emails and everything, talking about, "Oh, I want this feature. It's like it should do this and everything," and you're just like, "Come on, it's at the low priority range. I got work I got to do."
Yeah. Well, that's the internet for you.
If you got that much feedback and attention towards your software that you just put out there, then maybe you should put a little more attention to it. It's like, oh, people are actually using this, enjoying it. Maybe I should actually look into this stuff and make it bigger, and get more people, and eventually, make something out of it. It depends on where your focus is,
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at the Linux kernel. It developed into an entire foundation.
Yeah.
So
you never know what you're going to do, what your project's going to turn into sometimes.
Oh, definitely.
I know that lately I've been using a web-based IDE to mess around with Cloud9. Have you heard of it?
I signed up for it. I've never really used it. Saw it once, like, messed around. Oh, this is nice for everyone.
It's a JavaScript. It's like a web-based IDE that has collaboration to where everybody can work on this in the same through their web browser on the same documents and everything like that. So you don't have to like keep, you know, and it works like it works perfectly with Git and Mercurial and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It even allows you to clone directly from your GitHub.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the cloud stuff, because if the cloud goes down, then you're kind of hosed.
That is true. You really do. In order for the cloud thing, you have to maintain that internet connection. It's pretty much like a lifeline.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, sorry, I couldn't get the things done this week, boss. My internet was down.
Yeah. The internet is a lifeline nowadays. Almost, I don't know. Well, I know a few people that don't have an internet connection, but almost everybody, well, at least in the United States, does, and to the UK. And now it's like, if you don't have an internet connection, what's going on?
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, the kids have it so good these days because they have everything they need within a few keystrokes of, like, you know, they have, you know, music, movies, porn. You know, I remember back when I was a kid where we would stare at the TV on the locked channel with all the scribbly lines trying to see if we could see a boob. And that was exciting for us. And then if we couldn't do that, we'd turn to Victoria's Secret.
Yep.
That was what we did back in the day with our dial-up modems, you know.
Yep.
33 minutes to load up a picture.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you know, people just, the internet's got everything, and the internet's so fast that, you know, you don't have to wait for anything. So the world's growing up into a generation of impatient people that feel like they're entitled to everything.
Yeah, and that, honestly, and this is my personal opinion, this does not reflect any opinions of staff or whatever on the code podcast. They're absolute douchebags. I mean, I understand. I get frustrated when the download's not going fast enough, and I need to get it done because I have to go to sleep at 2 a.m. because it's till tomorrow. But I'm not exactly impatient. It's just ridiculous. Hold a little self-control. It's not that hard.
I completely agree. But that's what happens when technology starts getting advanced and people are all focused around technology.
Yeah, people start acting like...
Take away the internet and people will know what to do. You know, it's one of those things. Yeah. There are some pretty big inventions that change the world, like, you know, like the light bulb. The internet is one of them.
Yeah, and I'm arguing with you because the light bulb was not invented by Thomas Edison. He just sold a patent for the light bulb.
Well, I'm just saying the whole invention of the light bulb, not specifically. I'm saying that the invention of the light bulb changed the world.
I'm just pointing that out.
Fire, the invention of fire. That somebody was telling me the invention of fire. I was like, we didn't invent fire. We just discovered it.
Yeah.
We invented ways to create fire. That's a little bit different.
Fun tangent. Some people believe that fire is, in fact, the most useful discovery in humankind, not because it allows us to, you know, see in the dark, but because when we cook food, it's easier to digest smaller portions. We can get more nutrients, which means more energy, less work.
That's one of the things that separates us from the animals, is that we actually cook our food versus animals where they just eat it raw and they survive. But our bodies have built up over the years of eating cooked food that we cannot eat raw food anymore, except sushi. But
yeah, well, people still try.
Yeah,
cough, vegans cough.
Yeah, but you get sick off of raw food unless you're careful. You get salmonella poisoning and all that stuff.
Yeah, because our immune systems aren't used to it anymore. It's not a wild time.
I'm not encouraging anybody to go out there and try to get their bodies used to it, but I'm just saying that, you know, we've built up a requirement for certain tools. You know, as a I forgot what her name was. It was a philosopher lady that actually brought the notion that we are cyborgs as we are now because of our dependence with the technologies that we create. That we can't live without technology.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So therefore, we are cyborgs. It's about that dependence on technology. Kind of makes sense if you think of it that way.
Yeah, that's completely fair. But,
she went into a whole women's rights with it, but you know, I'm just talking about on the surface of it. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it also depends on your definition of cyborg. Do you mean people that depend on technology, or people that are intertwined with technology on a molecular level? I mean,
yeah, there's a little bit, you know. There's a difference there, of course.
Space.
There's the robots, the cyborgs, and the androids.
Yep.
And then there's the surgeons, which are basically robots, if you think about it. Yeah, there's some pretty creepy robots coming out in Japan, and that's, usually Japan comes out with the creepy stuff. But yeah, there's some pretty creepy robots that they're coming out. They're like all lifelike and everything like that. And, just know that the end of the world's coming soon.
People are focusing too much on trying to create a lifelike robot than what's actually practical. Because, I mean, look at a robotic arm. It's extremely practical for hundreds of uses. Are we trying to make it look like an actual arm? No. Why? Because what we have works. Stop to make androids that look like humans. It's just creepy.
Because actual people aren't good enough. So let's make robots.
Well, yeah, I suppose so. The actual people, at least here where I am, are complete. Yeah.
Yeah, robots have their
use them anymore.
It's just a natural progression of technology. You know, you build a machine, then you want that machine to, because you get tired of fixing the machine, so you want the machine to fix itself. Then you get tired of even messing with the machine at all, so you want the machine to be completely autonomous. It's just that natural progression of laziness. It's like, you know what, just do everything yourself. Just leave me alone.
Yeah.
And that's when you come up with androids, when you start making them look and behave like humans.
Yeah, that actually reminds me, you mentioned the machine, that reminded me of a project I thought up, which was code that rewrites itself via reflection.
Kind of like a self-learning.
Yeah, kind of like that, except it would use the genetic algorithm to try to optimize itself, and yeah, just basically use in an environment, see what it mutates into.
I believe people already attempt things like that with chatbots that pick up words and chat and everything.
Yeah, but this wouldn't be a chatbot. It would actually be rewriting its code itself, in a way.
So it would actually be outside of just the speech itself, but it actually goes into other things like movement and understanding of things.
Yeah, which actually is interesting. I don't remember who it was, but I believe they developed a computer that recognized the instance of a cat on its own. It developed its own concept. Well, it developed its own concept of a cat using data that it got, and it wasn't told what a cat was. So that was pretty interesting.
Why are people in chat saying that I'm AFK? I'm talking and I'm streaming right now. I checked.
Yep.
I checked all my stuff. Did you check with the website? Make sure that we're streaming across.
Well, I'm on the website right now. The video's playing. The sound's muted, but I see it live.
Number 2 saying that. Oh, okay. Never mind. He's just being weird. They're actually doing work because he's like talking in chat. I kind of like look over at chat throughout the show because it is a live show, so I try to be involved with chat when I can. But I'm looking at it. He's talking about Skaggles as AFK. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm right here. So I was scared that something went wrong and it hasn't been streaming this whole time. And I was like, what the hell? It's like we've been talking for like over half an hour. Oh, actually about half an hour.
Yeah, 25 minutes, almost 26.
Yeah.
That would have been a waste of 26 minutes.
So, oh, there is one thread on the forums that I found interesting enough to mention. So let me go over here to my browser.
Let's hear
it. It is on the forums, and it's actually a feature thread that I thought was interesting enough to mention because I've mentioned in the past, and I'm going to go back to my face camera, try to get it, authentic here. I've mentioned in the past that some of the feature threads that I find amusing is the ones that become featured, but then they get locked. So you have this feature thread, and you go into it, and it's locked, and you can't even write anything. So I always thought that was amusing how the things work that way. It's based on like a ratio of like views or something like that, and interaction or something like that. So it automatically gets featured, but then it gets locked. Well, I found this one. I thought was pretty interesting. That let's scroll down here. That it's called "Is It Me or All the Students/Newbies Becoming More Rude?" And this was started by Butch Dean. And it's not that it's locked, but when you click on this with 39 replies, it's just missing. It's like it's like it lost where the thread was. It's saying we could not determine which forum this topic is in. It's like what? It just went missing. And I think
that's not good.
I think that's hilarious right there.
Oh yeah.
It's like we couldn't determine which forum this topic is in. It's like how hard is it? You just misplaced it. It probably got moved or something. Who knows what actually happened? But I just thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. Well, if they move it, forum software should create a symbolic link from where it was to where it is.
Yeah. As Creative Coding points out in chat, it's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy at Dreaming Code. They're hiding the truth from us. Talking about how the noobs are hiding the truth about their rudeness, I guess, because you can't really rely on the titles of threads to be related to what the content actually is. So when I see a thread that's talking about, students / noobs that are becoming more rude, so I click on it, but I'm not really expecting that type of content. It could be talking about, like, the whole oatmeal versus funny junk debacle or something like that.
Oatmeal the winner, by the way.
Speaking about the topic itself, do you find that people these days, we were actually talking about, like, people being impatient, self-titled, and feeling that they're entitled to everything. Do you feel like that the new people coming into technology and students and everything do put off a kind of rudeness and patience in their?
Yeah. Well, like you mentioned before, the people are used to getting things handed to them. The internet, download file, done. And in the world of programming, and with a bunch of veterans like Number 2 Pencil and all of those people, they're used to when you had to work to find a solution. There wasn't this vast knowledge base. Yeah,
you had to work for it.
Yeah. So when an expert is, let's say, I saw an example in the C# form 6 months ago. That was the last time I was on there. And it was about, like, creating a file or something, like a directory structure, looping through files.
Yeah.
The expert goes and posts the basics on recursion, right? And he gives some samples. Oh, this would recur so-and-so in pseudocode. The person would then go and reply, what I wanted is the exact answer. Can I have this code blocks?
Yep.
It's just ridiculous.
Yep.
You can't piece 2 and 2 together.
And I think it ties back to the whole thing we were talking about, how with the internet provides everything. Back when I first got into coding, the internet was useful in looking things up, but there wasn't, like, a plethora of information yet. So a lot of the stuff I actually like work at and debug and try to figure out where I went wrong and everything like that. A lot tying back into the whole, like, 80s cable, trying to get the porn channel to come in. You had to work at it to find the boob. And I think that's the same case with programming, is that we had to work for it. But nowadays, there's so much information on the internet and videos now, tutorial videos that basically break it down step by step on how to do something, that people go to these classes, and rather than put forth the effort to learn this stuff, they just turn to the internet and get the information immediately and don't really learn. They're just copy-paste. The copy-paste generation.
Yeah.
You need to work for the boob.
Yeah, I personally like getting thrown into a problem and smashing my face against the keyboard until I figure it out. I mean, that works perfectly fine. And then go to the internet, see if there's an optimized solution, and kind of piece it together, use my code, and see what they're doing, and see if I can optimize my stuff, and not necessarily Control-A, Control-C,
Yes.
Control-A.
Exactly. I think the internet should be used as a tool, not just the means to an end. It should be... Like, when I don't know how to do something, I'll go on the internet and look at tutorials and stuff like that. But I won't just, take that and put it in my code. I'll actually look at it and try to figure out what they're doing, and then rewrite it. Sometimes the way I write it is the same way because it's optimized. But I won't just copy and paste it. I'll actually make sure I understand what it is I'm copying and pasting and what it does, and then I'll reword it or rewrite it or whatever, and try to and actually learn from that. That way, in the future, I don't even have to look it up. I already know what to do.
Yeah, I have funny instances where I write code myself, and I have no bloody idea what it does, but it works. And I wrote it myself, and I'm like, what the hell was I doing?
That's the progress of learning too. You go back to your old code, and you look at it, and you're just like, what the hell was I thinking? Like, this is nonsense. And I've done that a few times because that's why GitHub's kind of a gift and a curse at the same time, because it's the convenience, but it's a curse because you go back to all your old projects from like long ago that are down at the bottom now, and you look at it and you're like, this is embarrassing. I'm just going to delete this.
Oh yeah. I cleared out a bunch of my GitHub repos recently.
I think that's one of the reasons, not just financial reasons, but I think that the embarrassment's another reason why some people don't go open source, because they know their code is terrible.
Oh yeah.
It's like we don't make any money off this project, but we're gonna say closed source because it's just you don't want to look at it. You don't want to know. It would take too much effort to clean things up just to put it on open source. It's like, just do it.
Yeah, but that's one of the good things about community involvement. If it's open source and you have a community, the community will do most of that stuff for you. They'll clean up and refactor your code.
Yep. Community coding and all that collaboration stuff is a great thing because you not only work with other people and get that kind of friendship started in associations, but you learn from it too. I've learned some things from working with other people in code that I didn't know previously, and now it's just mind opener. Even in it's the same thing as like going to a class, and all of a sudden you just get that light bulb because somebody shows you a different way to do something, and all of a sudden it's just like so much just opened up in your brain.
Oh yeah,
I love those moments.
yeah, and that's what I think about good is about learning multiple platforms and languages. And I'm not talking just programming language, I'm talking spoken languages. Yeah. Because I'm learning Japanese, and it just made me think about the English language and how ridiculous we are.
Japanese is completely different.
Oh yeah, and you think about it in that aspect, the differences between the languages, it really also makes you think like, I learned this in C++ and it works really well. Let's see if I can make it work just as well in C#.
Yeah. And sometimes it's better in another language than it was in a different language. Could you maybe you just understand it better?
Yeah, like a program in C# is going to be slower than a program in C++, even though it does the same thing, just because of the .NET overhead.
And it
might be better in C# if you need to get it done faster.
Yes, and the time that it takes to do things, in some situations you have to kind of compensate for if you're doing it in a different language because it's going to run faster maybe, and it's going to go by too fast. And so it's kind of things like that you got to kind of it's problem solving. That's all programming is, problem solving. I mean, once you learn how to code, it's just a language. You just use a language to solve problems. Math.
Yeah.
Math is a language that you use to solve problems.
Indeed.
Algebra is the grammar.
Yeah, and it's funny too, just like with spoken languages, how you get yourself stuck into really weird patterns that don't necessarily go here when you learn it yourself and don't have anyone to teach you, such as foreign languages. When you do programming languages, like I developed some really horrible programming habits from learning C# myself and just piecing everything I found together.
Yeah. I've done copy-paste code, as long as you learn from it, you don't just let that be that.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. I have to say that, it's, to people that are getting on programming and they're, they're actually serious about doing programming is that, use the internet. Like, don't be afraid to use stuff you find on the internet. Just make sure you understand it and try to, try to write it in your own words. Don't just copy and paste is what I would suggest, Sometimes
plagiarism is horrible.
Yeah. There are things that I find on the internet that I use as sources and essays, but I don't just freaking copy and paste them unless I actually quote it and actually say where I got the source. But a lot of times I'll just paraphrase it.
Oh yeah.
Which I still have to cite where I got it from, but that's just...
Well, yeah, of course, but...
that's college work. Well, professional in general. But the same thing goes for programming. You don't want to just copy somebody else's work and paste it in your thing. You actually want to make sure that... I mean, it's not like code is the same as an essay, but,
Yeah.
If you're actually just copying an entire program somebody wrote and just making the same exact program, then that's a little different than just taking a section of it to try to figure out how somebody else did it because you don't fully understand how it works.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess a better analogy would be to look at an essay somebody else wrote, but don't copy from them. Just look at how they worded something and how they structured it. You're not necessarily taking the words. You're just using it as a learning tool. That'd be a better example of how to use other people's code for yours.
Yeah. I can honestly say that I used people's code to learn all the time. Yeah. And I still do. I was like, I've never known you could do that. I'm going to use it now, and then I'll see what I can make it out of.
Yep.
So.
Yep, and that's what open source is, too, because you could just freaking copy somebody else's open source stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, different licenses have different requirements and everything, so you should look into those if you're working with open source. But a lot of times, with open source software, the source is just open, but you got to be careful still.
Yeah.
Yep.
Also, go ahead.
I was just saying, yep. Yep. the whole plagiarism thing has always been a huge thing throughout the years, and it automatically comes over to the whole code thing because it's all personal property, and
Yeah.
people are very, very protective when it comes to their personal property.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, chat's hilarious sometimes. Monty was talking about the awkward silence after two men just touched swords.
Right, sure.
Technically, it was
Whatever you
touched
want.
words, but you know, the analogy stands.
Yeah.
All right, so we've talked about a lot of stuff that I had on my list. In fact, we talked about everything on my list. Anything that you want to touch on in this these topics?
Aside from the ridiculous price of code signing certificates, not really.
So you mentioned that you are currently a student right now, working on you going into computer-oriented
Yeah.
major.
Yeah, I'm in the gray space right now. I just got out of high school, and I'm going into a computer science major.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Assuming I can scrape together the cash. Ring, 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 ring.
Nobody will answer it. They'll just ring.
Ring, 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 banana phone.
Oh, somebody answered it. Somebody in the house was considerate and knew I was doing the show, so they went ahead and answered it.
Oh my.
If only just to pick it up and hang it. But yeah, God, I was just gonna mention something. Oh yeah, I'm in school right now. I'm actually going after a dual major in computer science and mathematics.
Yeah.
I hated math in high school. Absolutely hated it. I got F's in math all the time. So
Oh yeah, same here.
now now that I'm in college, I'm actually really good at it. I'm getting A's and everything, and I'm just wondering what the hell happened. Like, I actually really like math. It's just high school sucked. It just sucked, you know?
Yeah, I personally as well. I love math. It's amazing. I just no. I don't know what's wrong. I just can't do math.
I love that just the simplest things in math are very powerful, like the identity property of like anything times 1 is equal to itself, you know, and how that's just obvious, you know, because you learn that in like the lowest grade school when you first start multiplication, but how powerful that actually carries on to other things when you're dealing with fractions and stuff. And then,
yeah, definitely.
And algebra, where you multiply by 1, it's still the same, but it's changed with fractions.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting. And then there's that whole 1 is equal to 2 proof. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't really bothered looking into that nonsense.
And then the P, NP, it's just, it's ridiculous.
Math is ridiculous, and that's why a lot of people don't like it, but it's just one of those things. It's like a language, and, you know, it's hard to understand, and then once you actually kind of get understanding for it. I think a lot of people... What was that?
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think a lot of people struggle when they get to like the algebra area, when they start introducing variables and the whole equations idea and everything like that. And a lot of people start struggling with that, so they don't go past that. What they don't realize is that algebra isn't the end of math. There's like, you know, all this other stuff. Algebra is just a tool in math that you learn to use to solve other things that you carry on into, like, you know, trigonometry and calculus and, you know, and differential equations and all this stuff.
Yeah, I have a friend that's doing a dual major in computer science and physics. I saw his multivariable calculus 2 textbook. My brain melted.
Oh, well, I get there. Yeah, I'm in kind of what I did is I went from high school to the Army to working to college. So I kind of had a large break between high school and college. And like I said, I hated math in high school, wasn't paying attention. So I started my college career. I did the test, and it scored me low in math because I had forgotten everything, nor was I even paying attention. So I had to start a little low in the math. But like, everything is so easy. I don't know if it's just my understanding of math is better now, or if the classes are just retard-proof.
Yeah.
I'm just acing these classes now, and I'm actually getting into the advanced math, college-level math classes now.
Yeah. I mean, I personally know why I'm bad at math. That's because my school sucked. But
yeah, well, I'm in California, and everybody knows California education system is FE. Although there are my niece, I think I've mentioned this on the show before. My niece is in a charter school, private school, and I don't blame my brother for putting her in a private school compared to a public school. But she is in the first grade, and they're already doing division. You know, I remember when I was in a public school, we didn't do division until like third or fourth grade, and she's doing it in the first grade. So that means they haven't done negative numbers in class yet, but I merely like introduced her to negative numbers because I was joking with her and messing around with her head, you know, what uncles do.
Right.
And I was like, I was mentioning about negative numbers because I asked her, kept going on and on about hundreds and everything. She's like, what's 100 plus 100 and all that stuff, you know, as kids do. And I was like, well, what's 100 minus 200? And she just brain melted and I explained it to her. And now she just gets it. She gets negative numbers. Right. She's actually really good at math.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It was, you know, family pride, but.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being prideful.
You're
not too prideful.
Her dad, my brother, is actually an accountant, majored in finance and accounting and all that stuff. So he's like a math freaking whiz. So it's no doubt that his offspring had some sort of math gene, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Which, you know, some people understand it, some don't. My fiance has a little trouble with it. I'm trying to help her with that. But some people are just, I forget which side of the brain is logic and which side is creativity and all that stuff. But apparently I'm kind of in the middle ground because I'm a writing tutor and I'm good at math. So.
Yeah.
Some people are just born awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of awesome, I'll link up the beardy hair. I got this new image I had it planned to use in the episode with XAMPP, but he pulled out. No homo. But yeah, I actually took one of those little unknown person images and added a beard to it, and I thought it was interesting to go to the show.
If I recall correctly, those unknown person images were modeled after founder of Dreaming Kid, or something like that. I remember comparing his original profile picture to one of the empty ones. This was long ago, and they pretty much matched up.
Yeah, I forget what it was. I think I remember something like that. Let's see what time is it. We still have like 10 minutes until the show ends. So do you have a beard? I gotta ask.
I'm only 18, so I don't necessarily have a beard technically, but then again, I haven't shaved.
Do you have plans to?
So it's kind of scraggly.
Do you have plans to develop a beard in the future?
No plans.
Just
tomorrow. I planned on shaving though. So.
I can't shave. I shave. People go crazy in the chat thing to the show. So that's why I tell the people who work and everything like that. They're like, "You trim your beard up and everything." I can't. Sorry. No. If it comes to work in this show, I'm shaving the beard.
Yeah.
Like I said in previous in the show, I don't get paid to do the show. You know, I love doing the show. You know, I love the enthusiasm people have for the show and the excitement that they get just by looking at me stroking my beard and all. But when it comes down to work versus the show, I'm gonna side with the people that pay me.
Yeah.
Even if it isn't that much pay, it's enough.
Yeah. Oh, nowadays with inflation and all that bullshit, any money is good money, even though it's not worth much. Yeah.
I get the whole government thing because of my time in the military. They paid me to go to school, but then on top, that wasn't really enough, and it's kind of FE. So doing the work kind of helps with a little more income. So.
Yeah.
And they work around your class schedule because it's at the college. So if you actually go to college and you need a job, you should look at working at the college you go to. It's not that bad. A lot of colleges have success centers or whatever they call it, tutoring centers or whatever, and they actually hire students to actually tutor. But a lot of times you need a recommendation of a teacher, and I just so happened to have taken English 102, and the teacher really liked me, so she wrote me a recommendation, and one thing led another, and boom, got hired on as a tutor. Not bad. And they have other things too. They have other types of things you do for school, especially when you transfer and go to an actual 4-year university. I don't know if are you at a community college right now, or you just go straight in?
I don't know.
Everywhere is different. I know. Like I just said, my grades were terrible in high school, so I couldn't just. And then my whole Army time, I didn't want to just jump into a 4-year. I couldn't, with those grades.
Yeah.
Now I'm working on picking up the slack.
Yep.
I'm actually talking with number 2 Pencil. This is for the people watching about doing an episode where he's actually going to do the hosting and I'll be the guest. We'll do a little bit of a role reversal there, which means he's got to grow a beard and I'm going to have to get a pair of glasses
Yeah.
and develop an Ohio accent, and then he'll work on his California accent, which.
Yeah. I recently drove through Ohio. It was horrible. I hated it.
I drove through Utah. That is terrible.
Oh yeah, I can imagine all the damn Mormons.
From one side to the other, I was going from Kansas, so it was like the length of Utah, and it sucked. There was
I can
nothing.
imagine.
There was nothing.
Imagine.
The most exciting part of Utah was when I left it and crossed the corner of Arizona.
Nice.
That was the most exciting part of Utah. If you actually live in Utah, it's not so bad. You got some stuff there, I'm sure.
To each their own. To each their own.
I honestly can't think of anything in Utah that, it was just desert. It looked like I was driving through desert, which is flat land and occasional little mountain range.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, and the speed limit dropped down as soon as I got there. I was going. I think it was a long time ago I drove this thing, but I'm pretty sure it was 75, 80 or something like that. And as soon as I got to Utah, it dropped down by like 10 miles per hour, and it was like, damn it.
Oh yeah.
All right, we'll go ahead. And, what's that?
Yeah. Some people also prefer to drive at 85 miles an hour, 55 mile per hour zone. So, I mean, I guess speed limits don't apply sometimes.
And that could be applied to coding. Everything can, Some people just pump it out. Some people take their time, spaghetti code and all that stuff.
Yep. In the words of the great Adam Savage, I reject reality and substitute my own.
Have you ever, you like one that just writes out code and just gets it over with and then goes back and optimizes everything, or you one that like are very meticulous and you optimize it as you write it and take forever?
I don't necessarily optimize as I write. I obfuscate as I write. So it's not exactly speedy, but I do sometimes just want to get done and over. But I've never finished a solid project.
A lot of times it's often better just to plan it out ahead of time. That way you don't have to bother with any of that. You just know what you're going to code, and it's just a matter of finding out how to best code it, and then just tweaking it.
Personally, for projects, I write the README before I start writing any code, so I know what I'm expected to do.
I've done that a few times. I wouldn't say it's my process, but I've actually worked on READMEs before I've done any. I've tried the to-do list thing. I've actually tried writing out, doing the whole drawings on graph paper and all that stuff, and how I want the UI to look on a website and stuff.
Yeah.
I've tried every process, and in the end, it's just kind of, just throwing shit together.
Yeah.
And everybody, everybody has their own process, but when it comes down to actually working, you have to go with the process that the company uses, which is a lot of days of the agile development, all that stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. When working for a company, it's pretty important that you keep the process down.
Yeah, test-driven development, writing all the tests before you do any coding. Actually, you're doing coding, you're just coding two things. You're coding tests, and then you're coding the program. Coding tests, code the program, code tests. Just a cycle thing, and I can see why it's beneficial to do it that way, but it's also kind of frustrating. But a lot of companies, I believe they have separate programmers for the tests, and then the more developed programmers, the senior ones, are usually actually working on the programs.
Yeah, definitely.
And then there's the bug people.
Yeah.
It all works that way, but if you're doing development on your own, it does not matter. I mean, it's good to become aware and have a familiarity with these development processes, but if you're doing your own stuff, you make the rules and you can do whatever the hell you want. You can read all those things on the internet and tell you the best practices and the optimized way to do this stuff, but when it comes down to what you're doing on your own project, it doesn't matter. You just do whatever the hell you want.
Your project.
Yeah. I mean, if you're working with other people on a project, and it's not a paid project, it's just kind of a group of friends, then you might want to work out something with your friends of like a common thing you guys do, whatever process, but
Yeah, and this is Windows and Visual Studio specific, but everyone, you know how everyone likes their own coding style, like formatting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Control E-D, I believe, or Control E-F formats the document to your specific standards in the IDE. So you can just commit like that, and then when you pull it up, Control E-F, and bam, you're perfect formatting.
Is that Visual Studio? Or?
Yeah, Visual Studio does that.
Nice.
And it's useful, but I mean, no, not everyone uses Visual Studio. So some people just gotta stick to a standardized format. Have you read the coding format standards and formats for Google's C code?
So you kind of got choppy at the end of that. The what code?
Oh, have you read the standards and formatting that Google specifies that needs to be done for their writing of code?
No, I haven't bothered. I assume it's probably pretty interesting.
It's strict and I don't like it.
Yeah, well, this is the same thing goes back to when you're working with a company. They have to actually be strict because there's so many people working on it, and this is like something that's like makes them money and everything. So they want to make sure that things go right the first time, and they don't have to spend a bunch of money fixing things. So they have to.
Yeah, what?
Control.
Yeah, I'm going to send you the link to it in IRC.
Madi's saying Control K.
Control K.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a big user of keyboard shortcuts, so I didn't remember it exactly.
We'll go over to the browser right now. Let's see.
But if you look at some of this stuff, it's ridiculous. And a lot of it makes sense. But
so we got table of contents, important notes. The style guide contains many details that are initially hidden from view. What?
Yeah, I know.
In general, every CC file should have an associated header file. There are some common exceptions, and so yeah, I can see how very specific they are with every type of thing. All header files should have a defined guards to prevent multiple inclusion. That kind of goes without saying.
Yeah, and then just some of the code formatting stuff is ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm sure it goes quite into detail. They got to be. They're Google, They have to be specific with their employees. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I'll look through
and mind
this.
you, this. Yeah, and this is just their C++ guide. They have it for almost every language they use, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. Well, that's yeah. Like we were saying, like when you're working with a company, they're going to have their specific restrictions. But when it comes to doing things on your own, I mean, it's good to be familiar with stuff like this, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So they have XML, Python, Objective-C, JSON, Java, HTML, CSS, Python, again, RC.
They have restrictions for all those languages?
Yeah, specifications. It's
That's
ridiculous.
crazy. I'm sure Microsoft has their things, and Apple has their things for their developers too, and they probably have a lot of similarities, but a lot of differences too, because like every company is different in what they expect from their programmers.
Yeah.
I remember this one job interview I was doing, they were asking me about agile development. I've never actually done agile development, but I was actually familiar with it. I was, explaining the process to them, but I've never actually done it.
Right.
So like I said, it's good to have a familiarity with these things for those that are new to programming and stuff, and looking at what they should learn. Not only learn programming and the processes of programming themselves too, and test-driven development, all that stuff is good to know. Yeah. If you're bored, give it a try.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're looking for something to do, try just, like I said, it doesn't matter, but if you're working on a new project, try doing it in a behavior-driven development way. If you want to learn how to do behavior-driven development, look it up and try it out on a project. It doesn't even have to be like some sort of like advanced project or anything like that. You can do it on this little stupid Hello World program. Actually, it's kind of hard to do it on a Hello World program, so it's just one line of code.
Hello World in pure machine code binary.
Oh, yeah, and I wrote a Hello World program in assembly. I think it took up like 20 lines of code or something like that. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, but it must have been super fast.
Yeah, it said "Hello World" like no other program. It did it so fast. You run the program, it was there. It didn't try to think about what to say. It knew what to say. All right, we are at 8 o'clock. We actually filled in the whole hour with junk. I wouldn't say we had a lot of interesting things to talk about. These shows and all the other shows we do are recorded as we do them live, so the people that can't make the live show can see them on our YouTube channel.
Yep.
Thanks for agreeing to do the show kind of at the last minute. I wasn't really expecting to have a guest. I was trying to think of what am I going to do because I don't want to cancel the show a second week in a row just because guests canceled and everything like that.
Yeah. Well, no problem. I didn't have anything better to do anyway.
All right.
So.
XAMPP, everyone. He's on the forums. He does
forums, GitHub, same username.
Yep. And
or
SoundCloud.
SoundCloud,
although on
Socket.net and LethalBit.net as well.
On SoundCloud, I noticed your name, the A, and XAMPP, ZAMPP. The A is actually an @ symbol, so.
Yeah, I mean, people, I don't know, different websites have different naming schemes. Some will have more,
and sometimes your name's just taken.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for being on the show. We're gonna wrap things up now.
No problem. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
All right, everyone. Thanks for sticking out with us. Sorry about last episode, the lack thereof, and glad things worked out for us this episode. XAMPP was awesome for coming on such late notice and working with us and everything. Like I said, next week there won't be a show because I'm going to be out of town with my fiance. But the show after that is July. I'm pretty much off of classes. I'm not taking any classes in July. I'm taking a month off. So I'll have time to actually plan stuff, but I'm also looking at ways, and I'm open to suggestions of ways to do the shows that we aren't dependent on a guest. So if the guest doesn't show up or cancels, I could actually still do a show. And that's, like I said, a lot of things I'm working on, like the purchase of some tools that I was looking into to actually implement with the show and everything like that. The only problem is that the only thing I can think of outside of guest-oriented show is like a tutorial show, and then that kind of limits it to a specific audience that are actually interested in the topic. So I got to kind of think of a topic that interests the most people. So I can't stick to a specific. Well, it's kind of programming languages are kind of thrown out because some people don't really care about some languages and some do. So it's kind of has to be about the actual programming itself. I don't know. We'll work things out, and starting in August, it's going to be a little different because number 2 Pencil will have to help me out with hosting duties because I will be balls deep in a busy schedule. Anyways, thanks for sticking around. We actually didn't do the commercial this episode, so I'm going to go ahead and do that commercial right now at the end, and I will see you all next week.
Is your computer running slow, suddenly shutting off, locking up, or other abnormal behavior? You could very well have a virus. Help is available. Computer design and
Actually, not
repairs
next
been
week,
servicing
the week after
Akron,
next week.
Cuyahoga Falls, and the greater Summit County area since 2003. Give us a call, and a professional technician can diagnose and properly repair the issue. Computer design and repair can also repair your PC or laptop, including LCD screens, DC jacks, broken or missing keys, even data recovery. Located downtown Cuyahoga Falls on the corner of Portage Trail and 2nd Street, Computer design and repair is open from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. Please, feel free to give us a call at 330-929-2600 or see our entire list of services on the web at akron123.com. Again, that's 330-929-2600 or akron123.com.
The beard has spoken!